There's two reasons for me to record this, and one is for my own personal reasons, and then also so I can share it in the group for anybody that wants to check it out down the road. They can look at it. I am going to share my screen, and I think some of you might be proud of me. I actually was able to get, I was able to put my video into my presentation, so I think that's kind of cool. I know some of you would be proud of me. And I also made some changes on the way that so there's a video that I wanted to share with you guys, but it's really long and I've had the comment made to me that, hey, you know what? I think the videos are a little bit too long. Is there any way we could do anything with that? So what I'm going to do is I'm chopping up a video that's about 20 minutes, give or take, and I'm going to break it up over the next few meetings so we can see it chopped up into about 2 to 3 minute pieces. So with that, got to make sure I share audio because otherwise y'all won't hear it, and we'll get going. Alrighty then, we got a view. Slideshow. So obviously it's Thursday training. So the next slide is our video. And just to give you a little bit of a heads up, it is Art Williams, like it always is. And I do want to say something else about, and I wrote something down so that I would remind myself to tell you guys, right? I wrote it down, put a little sticky note. So my idea in training here is to keep it short, but I want it to be impactful. I don't want to have this long, drawn out training. I think I've said that in the past, but just a reminder. But this video is Art Williams, and we'll go ahead and get started right now. And we press play.
You know, in football, you win by being better than the competition in fundamentals. You win by being tougher mentally and physically, by being better in blocking and tackling. And the same way in your business, folks, you've got to be better in the fundamentals, okay? And let me give you 10 fundamentals now you've got to continue to work on to master the sales business. Number one, you've got to have a passion about what you do. Folks, if your business is just a job, just a way to make money, then folks, you're going to fail. You're not going to do anything big. You've got to have an unbelievable passion about what you're doing. Every single winner, no exceptions, folks, every single winner I studied in A.O. Williams, the one thing they all had, the secret, was a passion. They had an unbelievable passion about what they did. See, Prudential sold life insurance to make a living. I sold life insurance to correct an injustice. And always remember another unwritten law, folks, crusaders die hard. Number two, you've got to be able to give your winning presentation now anywhere at any time. You know, in a restaurant, you've got to be able to reach over and grab a napkin and be able to give your passion presentation on a napkin. I've been, you know, at places where I just had a newspaper. You know, it's the only thing I had. You know, I'd get my newspaper, I'd find a little open spot on the paper, and I'd bring my pen out and I'd give my presentation. I've been in a basketball game. I would take the program that I'd buy as I go through the game. You know, I'd be sitting up with a visiting coaching friend of mine, and I'd give him a presentation, you know, 5 or 10 minutes, you know, on the back of a brochure. So you can be given, you know, with a pen and just a scratch pad is, I think, the best way a real pro that knows what he's talking about, if you want to really impress and disturb and sell the sizzle to your prospect, man, to take a blank sheet of paper and be able to paint a picture on it, to me, that's the ultimate in being a real stud in this business. Also, you can give your presentation in a real formal, beautiful presentation piece. Just remember that the key principle is the first 10 minutes, your sale is going to be made or lost. And once you go through and you give the passion presentation, you disturb the client, you sell the sizzle, you've reached inside and grabbed his heart, you know, he really knows that you're doing something different and something special, then you can go take a more formal presentation now and really go through and talk about the products and the systems and the company and anything else you might wish to cover.
Hey Tony, I got a question for you real quick, if you don't mind unmuting yourself. Do you remember the first presentation you ever saw? I hope I'm unmuted, guys. Sorry. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Excellent.
Yes.
Excellent. Okay, cool, cool, cool. I'll share mine. I remember the first time I saw any presentation, it was a written out presentation. So I guess that's why I love writing stuff out. I love writing stuff out because I feel like I'm able to keep somebody's attention on where I'm writing versus if I bring out a presentation and I start showing stuff, it's a lot more difficult because then you can start skimming down and looking at other stuff, right? So that being said, I've always that was the first thing I ever saw, and that's what I've always loved that. But moving right along, what I wanted to go over with y'all real quick is this. There's a couple of different things that I'm going to go over, but I want you all to think about what we're helping people with. I personally believe this is biblical, and I've got it on there, biblical scripture. Where in the Bible where am I getting this? And I'm not by no means form or fashion am I claiming to be a theologian. All right. But I did do my research, and there are some scriptures that I want to share with y'all real quick. And there's some stats that I want to share with y'all as well based on those scriptures. So the first one is this Proverbs 22, chapter 22, verse 7, right? So the rich rule over the poor, and the borrower is the slave to the lender. What a lot of people hear on this one a lot of times is the borrower is the slave to the lender. You hear that a lot. You hear that a lot, and I'll go into more details about this, but I mean it's pretty self-explanatory. You know, if you borrow money, you're going to be a slave to whoever you borrow it from. The next one will be Romans 13:8, chapter 13, verse 8. Owe nothing to anyone except love to love one another, for the one who loves another has fulfilled the law. I'm not going to go into all the law and everything, you know, the Moses and Jesus fulfilling the law. I'm not going to go into all that. I'm going to keep it real simple and just straight to the point of what I believe where these hit me personally. So going to Proverbs, the borrower being a slave to the lender, just some stats for you real quick. As of mid 2025, the middle of 2025, the US credit card debt is at 1.2 trillion dollars. Credit card debt, 1.2 trillion dollars. The total amount of student loan debt in 2025 is about 1.8 trillion dollars. So the people owe more in student loans than they do in credit card debt, right? So I'm going to give you all an example. I've got a real good friend. His son is about this, his kids are about the same age as mine. His son is graduating in December. He'll technically be a doctor, right? He's a physical therapist. He'll be a physical therapist. Once he tests out in January, he'll be able to get into the market and start working. But he's going to owe somewhere in the range over 150, from 150 to 175, somewhere in that range that he's going to owe that much money for the school that he went to. Now, granted, he is going to be a doctor. I cannot take that away from him. It's a huge accomplishment. I applaud him for doing that. But let's just say it's $160,000, $160,000 that you're already in the hole just starting off in life. So that's something that I wanted to share with you all. You know, I feel that's biblical. If we say that the borrower is the slave to the lender, then I feel like, hey, if people are getting in debt, you know, and we can help them get out of debt, we should. So moving right along to the other scriptures, Proverbs chapter 13, verse 22. A good man leaves an inheritance for his children's children, but the wealth of the sinner is stored up for the just. I'm going to focus on the first part of that. A good man leaves an inheritance for his children's children. It's pretty self-explanatory as well. You know, if I'm going to leave something for my kids, I'm going to leave it for my kids' kids. To where, are we saving money? Are we putting enough money away for retirement, retiring in with dignity? Alex, you see tons of teachers there that you've worked with over the last 20 years, 25, 30 years, that I'm sure that you've seen them come back and they've subbed. I just saw a coach that I've known for years last this week. I saw him at Fuddruckers. Hey, coach, how's it going? How's retirement? How you liking it? Oh man, it's the best thing ever. You know, I've subbed here a couple of times, and I'm thinking, you're in your 60s. Why would you want to go? I mean, I just don't. It boggles the mind for me personally. I'm not a teacher, so I can't speak to that, right, Alex? I mean, you and my wife, you're both educators. You know what I'm talking about. So I just don't understand. You guys deal with kids, these kids, and I just don't see how a grandmother or a grandfather in their 60s would want to go and deal with kids that aren't even theirs. And, they've already done that. You did that. You did 30 years, 40 years of handling other people's kids. Why would you want to go back? I mean, it just blows my mind. Sorry, rant there. Okay. Moving right along. Says he, good to see you. Hope you're doing well. The last one is Matthew chapter 25, verse 29. Some of you might be familiar with this one, but this is the Matthew principle for to everyone who has more will be given, and he will have an abundance. But from the one who has not, even what he has will be taken away. So this is the Matthew principle. It's based off of the parable of the talents. You might be familiar with it, you might not. Just a kind of real quick paraphrasing of it, the owner basically gave 5 talents to everybody, or to distribute them out to his I guess you could call them workers and servants. And the first one, he basically went out and he doubled it. And the next one, he almost doubled his as well. But I think it was the last one that he just buried it in the ground. And it's like, well, I knew you were, I went ahead and I went ahead and wow. I'm looking at the chat, guys. I'm sorry. I just saw a former district director subbing today at a school. Yeah, I don't know what to say. Those are the stuff that I talk about all the time. But so going back to the Matthew principle, that I think that also applies to the Pareto law, if you've ever heard of it, 80/20, meaning that usually 20% of the people produce 80% of the work, and it applies to a lot of different things. But I'm just sharing these biblical scriptures because these are my beliefs and what I believe, that what we do is a business, what we're doing for families is biblical. So that's why I'm sharing this with y'all. That's why I'm sharing this with you. So moving right along. So I've got a few books. I've read a few books. I don't read books the way I used to. I don't read books sequentially from front to back. I kind of skim through books before I will read them and see if there's something that I want to read. And I love going to half price books. I love going to Goodwill just to see if I can find something that's worth, maybe, it might catch my attention, something, and I'll get it and I'll look through it and I was like, you know what, this is pretty good. So here recently I picked up this book and I got it at the last time I was in San Antonio, marked down $3. So $3 for a book that was 24.95. I'll take it any day if it's got something that's worthwhile. So I went through the book, skimmed through it, and I found some stuff I underlined. And this is one of the things that caught my attention, called the 4 levels of accomplishment. Now, the reason I share this is because Alex, have you, and maybe if you don't mind unmuting yourself, you can answer this for me because it's
Yeah,
happened
go
to
ahead.
me.
hmm
Have you ever had something like this happen to you where you're talking to your wife and you tell her, hey, you're never going to believe what happened. I was talking to my brother, or I was talking to one of my coworkers, and they said, this, and this, and I'm like, wow, that's so true. That makes so much sense. And then your wife turns around, looks at you, says, "Are you serious? I've been telling you that for the longest time."
Yeah.
Has that ever happened?
Yeah, yeah. Hearing it from a different point of view or different voice
So,
can sometimes click. Yeah,
so sometimes
absolutely.
it clicks. So that's why I'm sharing this particular. I'm sharing three different versions of what I'm sharing right now, so that maybe it'll click differently for different people. Because sometimes what I'll hear will click for me, might not click for somebody else, right? So these 4 levels of accomplishment. Well, what does this mean? What is it? So in 4 levels, the first one will be incompetence. So when you're starting off on doing something, most of the time you're clueless. We have no idea what we're doing, whether it's trying to play the piano, whether it's trying to drive. We don't know how to drive if somebody doesn't teach us. A lot of times we have no idea what we're doing. And what happens is, when you're trying to learn something, you go through a period that you know nothing. You don't know anything about anything. But what happens is those become baby steps. How does a baby learn how to run? Well, they got to learn how to walk first. How do they learn how to walk? Well, they got to crawl, and in order to get all to that point, they got to stumble, they fall, and it just happens, and they correct and they get better at it, right? And that takes us to what? Being competent. So somebody who's competent, you continue at it, you keep going, you learn, you eventually arrive to a level to where you're competent and you know what you're talking about. You don't look foolish. Let's just say that when you're talking about something, people actually look at you and they say, you know what? You know what you're talking about. Did you study this or what? And you're like, well, actually, it takes about 1,000 hours to get to this point, roughly, of practice. So moving right along, the third one is going to be somebody who has mastery, has mastered this thing. I'm not talking about a master's degree, right? No, no. But you've mastered something, and what this means is that these are people, these are folks who they've achieved a level of accomplishment, and it basically distinguishes them from all those other people who are competent. So they know what they're doing, but they know a lot more, they do a lot better, and that they become masters of whatever they're doing. Whatever their skills are, they're just become masters at it. They're really, really good at it. And this usually it's 1 in 100 competent people achieve mastery. So there's not a lot of them out there. There are some, but there's not a lot. And usually the hours it takes is roughly about 5,000 hours to put into this. Okay. But then you get to the next level, which is virtuosity. And I'm sorry, guys, but I had to look that up. It goes a lot to do with music, right? Virtuoso. Anyways, I won't go into all that. I had to look it up to make sure I knew what it meant. Extremely focused. They're determined, they're hardworking, and they're persistent. They're considered what? World-class performer, Olympic style or Olympic level. That's about 25,000 hours of practice, right? So, who would be examples of somebody whose virtue or that examples or exemplifies virtuosity? Well, you might know a few of these names that I'm putting on here. Michael Jordan, Tiger Woods, I think Robert De Niro is probably one of the greatest actors out there, that he's able to, the different roles that he's played. You might not agree with his politics. I don't either, but whatever. It doesn't matter. But he's good. Kobe, rest in peace. Really good. Michael Phelps has the most, gold medals, I think, of anybody, I think. He didn't just do that by accident. So those are 4 levels according to this book of accomplishment of where we would be working on stuff, right? So then the next one that I wanted to share with you all is another book that I read. And this is a book by Malcolm Gladwell. You may have heard of him. He's written a few books. So this one is the book that he wrote was The Outliers. So in his book, Gladwell says that it takes 10,000 hours of intensive, deliberate practice, and that's the magic number to achieve true expertise and greatness at any complex skill. I'm going to use some examples, and I'm going to go over the example from based on what I read. So the first one he talks about is the Beatles. So the Beatles, I didn't know this. The Beatles are considered a lot of people are very a lot of people love the Beatles, right? The Beatles used to play before they became famous. They would play in Hamburg, Germany, and all these other places before they were anything, before they were famous at all. So they had a lot of practice getting on the stage before they were really anybody. So they put a lot of hours in and they put a lot of practice in. So they became, the Beatles are considered, you know, one of the best of all time. Now, I know, Tony, I'm going to share something real quick about the Beatles. I don't know if you knew this or not, but there was a guy by the name of, gosh, I can't think of his name, and he was a musician, and so the Beatles were a real big fan of him and his group called the Crickets. I don't know if anybody's ever heard of this. I know it's super old. It's like my parents' stuff. They're in their time.
Buddy
Uh,
Holly?
Buddy Holly, I couldn't think of his name. Lubbock, Texas. Thanks, Alex. Appreciate it. So the Beatles were really, really, really influenced. This is just a side note, right? They were really influenced by Buddy Holly, and they took the name the Beatles because they like the Crickets. I don't know, so that's really, really. I thought it was really cool. Just a little side note, right? And the next one, then, his example in his book was let's see if I can get this going. It's not clicking. There we go. Bill Gates. So Bill Gates was the son of an attorney out in Seattle, I believe. And somebody's in the chat. Never knew that. I didn't know that either, Tony. I didn't know that. Even one of the Beatles actually purchased Buddy Holly's music, the rights to his music in the 70s because they were such big fans. Anyways, still going back to that side note, right? So Bill Gates was the son of an attorney, and he went to a private school. And this private school had this group. They were the mothers, whatever. They were just a group, and what they would do is they would fundraise, and they fundraised to purchase a computer that could connect to, uh, I think it was General Electric. So this computer that connected to General Electric allowed students to program. And this was back when he was like 13 years old, his first time he ever programmed anything. So think about that. Starting at 13-ish, around that time frame when computers were really non-existent, nobody knew what they really were, getting a head start on everybody else. These guys would go, him and I can't think of the other guy's name that founded with him, Microsoft. They would go at night and basically spend the night at this on this computer working on it because during the day they couldn't go because they were doing school and there was other stuff that other people were using it. So they would basically log tons and tons of hours working on that. Paul Allen, man, Alex, I appreciate it, dude. You're coming in clutch, man. Thank you. Yes, Paul Allen, that was the other guy. So they put in a lot of hours, and that's where Gladwell comes up with, these are examples of people that had 10,000 hours of intense, deliberate practice. So there's a correlation there from the other one. If you saw it, it was from 5,000 to 25,000, I believe. So it's around there for somebody to become really, really, really good at something. Now, I'm gonna sum it up pretty quick with what Art Williams says in another book called All You Can Do Is All You Can Do. You all may have read this one or seen it. I really highly recommend it. But this is what Art Williams says. In his book, he summed up everything that these guys said in a few words. All right. So remember, before you can be great, you've got to be good. But before you can be good, you've got to be bad. But before you can be bad, you've got to try. It, you can't just think about it and it's like, well, sounds good. I'll try it some other day. You got to get started doing something. I don't care what it is. If you don't try, you're not going to ever be, you'll never get good at it. You'll never be great at it either. So moving right along, somebody else threw something in the chat. Powerful. Thank you, sir. Appreciate that, Tony. Moving right along. Albert Einstein, guys. Albert Einstein, Albert Einstein, I mean, I've seen a lot of stuff about him, and he considered probably one of the smartest guys out there that ever in our history. Question was asked, why are we here? And I'll ask you guys the same question. Why are we here? Why are we here? Why are we here on this earth? And this is what probably the smartest guy came up with. Man is here for the sake of other men. Strange is our situation here on earth. Each of us comes for a short visit, not knowing why, yet sometimes seeming to divine a purpose. From the standpoint of daily life, however, there is one thing we do know that man is here for the sake of other men. Above all, for those upon whose smiles and well being our own happiness depends. I thought that was cool.
Love it.
So I'm going to stop my share and I just got some question for you guys real quick. Everything that I've talked about so far, the biblical part of it. Thanks, Alex. Yeah, I think that was one of the coolest picks that I've seen in, from history, definitely. But question, why are we here? Why are you here? Why are you here with me right now? Do you feel based on what I've talked about in our biblical scriptures of what I shared, do you feel that we have a responsibility to help people? I mean, I would probably think that you probably would say yes, otherwise you wouldn't be here. But I'll tell you this, guys, we have an opportunity. We have a great opportunity to change people's lives. I've seen it. I've seen other from other offices that we've been in of people that have been affected either through a death claim or they've saved enough money to where they're financially independent. I've seen it. I've seen it. So, we even have an opportunity to change our own lives by helping other people at the same. So it's a win-win scenario, right? But I'll open it up real quick. What do you guys think about my question? How do you feel as far as do we have a responsibility to other people? Or should we just say that we're here for ourselves and we're just kind of trying to throw some sales up? What are y'all's thoughts?
Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Okay, well, me personally, I feel like definitely knowing that there are really horrible, horrible products that are being sold out there to innocent people and clearly being taken advantage of, right? Now having a little one and knowing how important it is to have a life savings, and have life insurance in the event that something happens to me, right? I want to make sure that she's taken care of. I do definitely feel, knowing the information that I know, that I owe it to other people to share that information and to spread awareness. So that's my personal reason for being here, aside from the obvious residual income opportunity and just the ability to work from home is just incredible. And obviously, I would love to get to the point where I don't have to work at all and let the business go and take off on its own so that I can spend every waking minute with my kids, or my kid right now, but my kids in the future. So that's just my 2 cents. And I do think that it's all the biblical verses that you've made, they hit home and they make a lot of sense. It's bigger than just us, it's bigger than me, and that's just how I feel about it.
Cool. Thank you. Anybody else? Please share if you do have something.
I just wanted to add, if I could, I believe that when God created us, He created us with a conscience to want to help people. Doesn't matter what our background or what, faith we profess or anything. God, I think, in His infinite wisdom, created us with a conscience to help when there's help needed. And it doesn't matter in what situation. And I think financially, we can certainly be a blessing to others, but I think that's ultimately what we're created for, is to serve others, to be a help to others, to love one another like scripture tells us. But all of us have that ability to do so. And I was talking to a young woman today who said, "Sir, I had like an epiphany." She said, I had an epiphany. I go, "What do you mean?" I said, "Well, I want to be an occupational therapist for young kids because I did it over the summer in a camp and I want to help kids." She wants to become an attorney. Now she wants to do this because and I said, "You know what? I applaud you understanding that you want to serve others, because that's something that is a natural thing for us." So I thought that was such a wonderful thing. And it kind of reiterated for me why we're created. We're created to love one another and to serve one another. And I think when we do that in whatever aspect, whether it's financial or emotional or social, I think that's what brings joy to our lives.
Well said, sir. Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Well, I just wanted to add, I agree with Amanda and Alex. Um, I do enjoy helping people. Um, and I guess through what I've been through, didn't know I want to be able to help other people not go through the same thing I did.
Thank you, Geechee. Appreciate that. Anybody else have
Hey,
anything?
Wes,
There you go.
I'm on the road, and I ditto Amanda. Thank you, Geechee, for sharing. You know, I keep thinking about Art Williams. He says people do not care how much you know unless they know how much you care. And so, Geechee, I heard your heart. Um, we were talking, Wes, recently about vision and having a vision. And what keeps coming back to me is there was a book written by Bill Arender, and you may remember it, called The Deception of the Corporate Dream.
Yes, sir.
Um, that was, I have it somewhere, I got to dig it up, but, having four daughters, well, $3 in college and one working on her master's, I've got an up close view of how academia is structured. And once you get out of high school, a lot of it is indoctrination. But I will say that this system was really set up, even our tax system, it was set up to favor business owners, you know? Um, and the majority of people, whether they realize it or not, no matter how much they make or what benefit package they have, you are renting your income. And when you retire, your needs financially increase, but your income is now gone. And when you pass away, everything stops. Insurance is awesome. I love it. Investments are awesome. But the best gift is an income stream
Yes.
because that's what allows you to leave an inheritance for your children's children.
There you go.
So I, I just think the gospel of entrepreneurship is really freedom. In the Old Testament, you had slaves and you had owners. That was it. They've changed the titles now.
Yeah.
It's not a plantation; it's a corporation. You
Yeah.
know, and so I think that really needs to be revisited because You know, once once you live long enough, it becomes real to you. So that's it.
Well said, sir. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. Thank you. So I want you all. I don't know if anybody, if you have anything you want to share, interrupt me. That's great. I'm all for it. If you want to, if anybody else has something they'd like to share, but I do want to say this real quick before we get done. Everything we're talking about, Tony, corporations. I talked about people being in debt earlier, and the numbers, they're staggering. The trillions of dollars that people are in debt in either credit card or student loans. That's not including mortgages. That's not including cars that they buy. That's not including all this other stuff that's out there that people get, I'm going to use the word bondage. They get stuck into bondage. And what is bondage? And I looked it up. Bondage is basically, it's a state of being a slave, of being bound. And so what we're doing is we're helping free these people and get them out of that bondage. Alex, the other day we had lunch and you said something that really hit me, and you said something along the lines of, "Hey, if they fire me, they fire me. I'm in a good position right now." How many, Alex, if you were to take a poll of everybody in the school district, what percentage do you think of educators, whether or district employees, are in a position like that?
I wouldn't say many, very few.
Probably
Yeah,
not.
yeah.
Probably not. Very, very few. You're one of very few that are in that situation. And so that's where I think that our crusade needs to be, hey, we need to have something more than just ourselves, more than, like I said earlier, just throwing up some sales of like, got a life insurance sale today, got a Roth IRA that I set up today. That's all great and dandy, but why is it that we're doing that? That who is the enemy? I just mentioned a little while ago, we've got debt at an all-time high. And there's other enemies too, financial institutions that do get us into debt. These financial institutions, what else do they do? They sell us horrible life insurance. Texas life insurance is one. We've seen it, Alex, at school. Those horrible annuities. Alex, you had one. I don't even remember what you said the interest rate was, but it never went up, is what you said, right?
Correct.
And
Yeah, 3%. Yeah.
it never went up. So there's no way that you'll ever be able to retire unless you just put tons and tons of money into it. There's really no way that you're ever going to retire financially independent with an annuity when you're trying to grow to get it to grow. The other ones are IULs that are being sold to people, that they're being taken advantage of with the whole life insurance. The other one, that these are other enemies that I feel that families are facing. The government. The government taxes us. Now, Tony, you hit the nail on the head. As a 1099 employee versus a W-2 employee, who has better tax advantages when it comes to being able to write stuff off? Obviously, it's going to be the owner, the 1099 person, the contractor, the guy who can buy his stuff and write it off, the taxes off of his income. The W-2 employee, they don't even get a choice. Their stuff, their taxes are pulled out of their check right away. So I feel the government is a huge enemy of families because the way they, we're taxed. They'll also, I don't know if you could include the government in here too, but inflation's horrible. People aren't being able to buy what they were able to buy 5, 10, 15 years ago, 30 years ago, when a soda was 50 cents, now costs you almost $3 when you go through the checkout, in Walmart. The other one is, and the other enemy I see as well, is the job. You might say, well, what do you mean that puts food on the table because it provides an income? Yes, it does. But as having a job, you're limited now. Alex, you got a ceiling of how much you can make where you're at. You can only make so much. A lot of these jobs that people have, they don't make enough money, they live check to check. I just saw, and I posted something in on Facebook about Houston, all these employees from the city of Houston, like 350, who took an early retirement whatever was offered to them. They were supposed to get their first check in May. Fast forward September, whatever we're at right now, the 18th, they still haven't gotten paid from their pension. So even pension, so if we're not looking out for ourselves when it comes to saving money, nobody else is going to look out for us. And the majority of people that are out there, I'm sure you guys can attest to it. They're clueless when it comes to this stuff. They don't know what's going on. No, nobody. I mean, you can ask a lot of people. Some might, but the majority of people have no idea what they're putting their money into when it comes to annuities. When it comes to any kind of. I just went in a training today where there's a couple. They were Hispanic. They didn't have a social. Neither one of them, but they had a business. They had a restaurant and they had $1 million in their checking account. And they're in their mid 40s. They were able to save up $1 million in their checking account, but the bank wouldn't allow them to invest the money because they said that there's no way that you can invest. Nobody ever offered them. So can you imagine $1 million? How much that would continue to grow, over their lifetime? But they're getting nothing in a checking account. Probably, I mean, minimal, minimal, minimal. So my whole idea in talking to you about this, guys, is there's more to this than just us. There's more to it than just us. Art Williams has always talked about it, and I see it more now the older I've gotten, that we are on a crusade to right these wrongs that are going on out there. How do we do that? One, help people get out of debt quicker, make sure they're saving money for retirement, making sure that they have the right insurances. And the other one is if we could show somebody if we could show somebody, Alex, who's getting close to retirement, just getting a professional license, I'm talking about an investment license, just get that license and help some other people out, they could basically fund their own pension through the investment license. So in other words, allowing them to I got kicked out. Can you repeat what you said? What did you last hear?
No, I just the part where you said that the reason I'm saying this is because, and then it was literally just like a couple seconds.
So the reason what I'm saying is what I'm getting at is that we are on a crusade here in our office. We're jumping on the crusade that Art Williams talked about, helping families get out of debt, making sure they have the right everything that's financially correct that they should have, and also helping people in any way we can if it's to help them make more money. Whatever way, and if they're not interested, that's fine. I'm not gonna lose sleep over it. I'm not gonna dislike them. But the whole point is for us to, like I said earlier about, or when I shared it, why are we here? And I asked you guys, why are we here? If we're here to help people, well, we all need to be on the same page here. And so I'm going to share this with you. I've been working on something for a while, and this is just an idea of something. And I feel like we don't have a name for our office. And Tony, I kind of want to. I'm going off of something, piggybacking off of something that you mentioned a while back. Just so you know, guys. So a lot of these big offices in Primerica, they actually take names like Team Unstoppable is a huge team out of the East Coast. I can't remember Chris Koob, I think. Huge, huge. And I feel like if you don't name something, if you don't give it something, then it's just kind of like, whatever, we're here. I don't know if that makes sense, guys. Does that make sense? And I hate saying it like that because I don't want you guys, I hope I explained that well. All right, cool. Thanks. So, Tony, we're part of the last, what, 45, 50 years, 45 years maybe of what has been known as the Delta Force out of San Antonio. And that's Frank Joyce's office. We're also out of Bill Arender's hierarchy. But what I wanted to do is I wanted to continue on keeping the name with the Delta Force and not necessarily keep the whole name like oh we're gonna be the Delta Force. No, what I want us to be is hey we're on a mission to help people become free. So my idea is the Freedom Crusaders. We're on a crusade to help people become free financially. So Freedom Crusader, we're the Delta DF, not DF in Mexico, but Delta Force. We're part of the Delta Force, but we're the Freedom Crusaders. So that's kind of what I chose. I threw that name out there to a couple of you, and I got good reviews for it. So that's what I wanted to share with you guys this evening is like, hey, this is bigger than just us. This is bigger than just us. Yes, we have a little office in Eagle Pass, but it's bigger than us. It's a lot bigger than us. And the last thing I'm going to share with you guys is this. We've got something coming up, and this is, let me see, where is it? We've got well, it's every 2 years. we've got something that happens in our company, and this time around it's a little bit longer. And the reason it's a little bit longer than normal is because um, we're looking at the 50th anniversary of our company, and it's going to be the convention in July 7th through the 10th of 2027. I want us to go to this convention. I want us to represent our little town of Eagle Pass, and what I want is I want us to take 50 people there. I want us to be able to go over there, take 50 people, and we're representing Eagle Pass and San Antonio, Tony, as well. Our office. That's my goal. That's my goal. So we got 657 days and so many 0 hours, 11 minutes and 38, 37, 36, so many seconds between now and then to be able to get this thing going. Comments, concerns, anything anybody like to share, even if you say no, I don't agree.
Yeah, I like Freedom Crusaders because it includes all of us, you know. And when someone's included, they feel like they can be a part of it. They want to contribute to it, and so it's a good move. Good move. I like it.
Thanks, sir. Appreciate that.
I do like the name a lot. I think that it's not I know some of them are huge, right? Some names that I've seen out there and they're, amazing teams and everything. But sometimes I think their names are a little bit corny. At least this one is really, really I don't know, I like it a lot. I think it speaks to our team and it also kind of pays a little bit of homage to the OG Delta Force with the DF in the beginning. So I do like that a lot because that's our roots. That's where we come from.
Excellent. Thank you. Appreciate it. Another thing that I want to have, guys, when we go to this convention, I want us to all have matching shirts that have something on the side that says DF and then has a whole name on there, Freedom Crusaders on there as well. That way we can represent, and I think that would be really cool. Awesome. I appreciate all the comments in the
Excellent.
chat, guys. Yes, sir. Tony, were you saying something?
I just said that's excellent.
Excellent. Awesome. Awesome. Alrighty, guys.
Wait,
Hey,
wait. I was gonna share something, Deb.
what's up?
Well, I wanted to share it with everybody because and well, let me count. So one, two, three people in the chat. Like mom included. Um, y'all, my parents. Amanda's my sister. Um, but I would call Amanda because I'd get so like when I because I if people don't know, I just moved to San Antonio it'd be a little over 3 months ago, and the reason why I moved was because I wanted to, like everybody said, everyone has different reasons why they're in this business, and we've had this conversation before, Dad, and why we're here, right? And you're kind of pulling us all together into one, with your Freedom Crusader, which you didn't tell me about that, but it sounds cool. I like it. Um, but so the other night, right now I'm working at HEB. I'm working overnight, and the other night I slept throughout the entire day. Didn't study. Dad's like, you need to study. You need to study every day. He's been telling me you need to study. I have not studied because I just get so tired from working 9 p.m. to 5:30 a.m. and I get after myself because it's like, well, why am I here in San Antonio if it's not to meet new people, make connections, and grow the business? Because what I want is different from what Manda wants. Manda says, I want to spend time with my kids. I don't even have a girlfriend, so I'm nowhere even close to having kids. So my want is different from Manda's want. My want's different from Geechee's or from Mr. Salinas or from Tony's or from yours. So I really like that you're grouping all of us together, trying to you know see the bigger picture because there is a bigger picture, and mom put it in the chat that she saw somebody from you know from central office that that's now subbing. So I just wanted to share that even though we're all doing something different, I do like that how you're grouping everybody together, and that um, accountability is huge. So I think the more we post like in the chat about like what we're getting for our test scores, just being more transparent and open about where we're at in our journey, I think will help us a lot too, especially since we have a calling card, we have a calling now, like a battle cry, so to speak.
Thanks. Appreciate that. Thank you. A little context here, guys, so you know. So again, going back to the book, this book, $30 book that I picked up, one of the things that I saw in there, and I'll share it with you real quick. I know it's getting late. It says good leaders communicate a compelling vision. And I'm like, oh my gosh, wow. I underlined so much stuff, and I'm like, to be a great leader, you got to spend time thinking about how you can make things better and then make people believe in the goodness of your ideas. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is great. This is so much. And I'm like, okay, he basically said the same thing. He said the same thing over here. He said, this guy said the same thing over here, but I saw it differently from another perspective and it just hit me. And guess what? I sent a text to Mark. Hey, man, I don't even remember. I looked at the chat earlier. I couldn't find it, but in our texting, and I said, hey, you know what? I think we need like a vision, something bigger, like for our office here because it's got to be more. It's got to be more than what it is. And he's like, bruh, I already told you that a long time ago. And I'm like, I guess I wasn't ready when you told me. And now that it hit me, I'm with Amanda. I've seen some of these names out there of these teams, and I'm like, well, that's interesting. And I'll just leave it at that. But anyway, whatever, I'm going to end it with this, guys. Whatever your reason for wanting to do this business, I know for a fact that it revolves around money to a certain extent. Yeah. Right, Alex? Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. So, what I know that money is not everything. It's not. It's not everything, but it makes things a lot easier. It gives you a lot more options. So Amanda is going to it would give you more options. It would allow you to be able to spend more time with your child than what you are spending. It allow you to, you could basically make enough money to where you could say, hey, let's open up a private coaching instead of working for the school district, coach that way. Alex, it would allow more money, income would allow you to be able to tell your wife, you know what, you want to get another house, let's move, get another house in Corpus. We can go over there and we can live over there part time, whatever you want to do. But that revolves around money. Yichi, I know that, as far as the situation that you're in, whatever it is, and I won't share any details of anything that you've told me about, where you guys are at as far as anything. But if you made more money, obviously it would be a lot easier to be able to, if your son needs whatever he needs, a new vehicle, or if your son in Corpus, whatever you want to go travel to see the grandkids, you don't have to worry about, hey, I got to go to work tomorrow. I can't, so it revolves around money. Tony, same thing, you talked about the kids, the corporations, all that stuff. Why are they there? They're there for money. They're going for money. They're not going just to spend their time and you just like, hey, I just want to hang out. They want to get paid. They're not a non-profit organization. That's they want to make money. Ceci, same thing. Same thing. If you made more money, how much easier would life be that it'd give you more options? And I could go on and on and on with everybody. Marcus, you could go film whatever you want to go to wherever school you want to go to and not have to worry about it. My point is this, guys. This is my point. I heard this on a training. Primerica is an opportunity for you to get the money thing out of the way. We're helping people fix their stuff and their finances, but at the same time, we're going to be making money, which will allow us to do the things that we want to do and help the people that we want to help out, whether or not your church or whatever organization that you feel very driven towards, that you can write a check, say, hey, here's a $10,000 check, whatever you need. So, you can do, there's a lot of things you can do with money. And I could continue going on and on. I won't rant and rave about it. I'm gonna go ahead and end it with that. Primerica is the thing that'll allow you to get the money thing over, but it needs a concerted amount of effort for a concerted period of time, meaning like it's kind of like taking a magnifying glass. And if we wanted to burn a little spot, we got to take the magnifying glass and move it so much because it's going to, just the sunlight by itself won't do it. It's got to be that concerted energy, so to speak. I won't go into all that. That being said, guys, it's already going to be 7. I appreciate y'all's time. I look forward to y'all's success. I really do. Appreciate y'all. Y'all take care. It's just a vehicle, but you'll be helping people along the way. And if they want to get on the bus is moving, the train is going. Let's go. All right, guys. Appreciate it, guys. Great being in business with y'all. Take care. Stay safe. God bless.